Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video and welcome to the Raid Digest. Hope you guys are having an amazing Friday. We got some news from PLARIUM, guys, a couple of things that they're usually kind of like posting every couple of weeks or so. Plus we have some AI changes and a lot of different things that I want to cover in today's video. But first thing first, let's start with a new update and of course the Raid Digest. So we got the new Hydra Insta battles. One thing that I do want to mention, something that I actually haven't noticed and somebody posted in the comments, I actually forgot who, so big shout out to you, you know exactly who you are. Basically, if you are doing Hydra, guys, you're not gonna have to basically one key on manual every single difficulty before you unlock the Insta battles. If you go on the highest difficulty and you one key that, then everything else will be basically available. I haven't really paid attention to it because I haven't done any keys just yet, but make sure you're doing one key on the highest difficulty, manual that, get the damage that you need, and then auto battle, insta battle will become available for all the other difficulties. So I just wanted to quickly mention that before we dive into the other things. Then we do have a 2x on void shards today, guys, and we have a 15x chance on summoning the Queen of Hearts. I'm not going to open shards because I'm super close to the Mercy and I'll rather wait for a 15x on Shuzan. That's basically what I'm waiting for. I forgot that I have 40 prism crystals, so let's just quickly drop them in, get our epic champion, and call it a day. There we go. Captain Temila, I think she empowers Dark Kale, if I'm not mistaken, so I'll be using her there. And I have a remnant summon, man. I feel like this will put me in the Mercy, straight in the Mercy. So from here on, we are hitting the Mercy, guys. We should have a higher chance to summon mythicals next time. Is not going to be only a 2.5, it should be a 3.5, and so goes on, because we had this game mode for over a year now, right? Or around there. Either way, let's dive into the Raid Digest. They are talking a bit about how they are picking the champions that they're buffing and stuff, and hopefully we're gonna have a new mythical buff soon, because we have a lot of trash mythical champions in the game. So after the first siege battles and an eventful 10.2 release, we believe it's time to sit back and enjoy our Friday Raid Digest. Hydra Quick Battles. We introduced Hydra Quick Battles in the last release and want to address some common questions. Our goal with Hydra was to encourage team optimization and synergy. To preserve player interaction, manual or semi-auto battles remain the best strategy for top results. Quick battles are a time-saving tool for those willing to trade some efficiency for convenience. We recommend fine-tuning your teams first before testing them in quick battles. It's very hard to make any team whatsoever to do as much damage on auto as it would do on manual. And that's because you have control when you're using the skills, exactly when to land the debuffs, when to use the big damage skills, etc. So it will never be the same no matter what they're doing. Even if they are doing some god tier preset, as long as the AI is not good enough, it's never gonna work like on manual. Another point we would like to highlight regarding quick battles is their duration. Unlike the Demon Lord quick battles, the Hydra ones take a little longer, up to several minutes, as it takes time to model all those 1000 turns. It does take slightly longer though. But to be honest, the main issue that the majority of the players had here is having only 5 tries for all of the difficulties. I feel like we should have had at least 3 tries per difficulty, to be honest with you guys. I don't know why they haven't gave us at least 3 per difficulty. Then, moving on to the aspect of Zeroth Relic and its effect on the Termitor manipulation. In update 10.20, they introduce an immunity skill fix. Now, when a champion skill states they are immune to certain debuffs or effects, they are truly immune to them. So all of these champions that say immune to etc, or Marius, for example, he's immune to Termitor manipulation. Now he's truly immune to that. Like, he was truly immune to that before as well, so I'm not really sure exactly what's the thing here. I feel like they just basically made the skill description to sound better. Now, there is one issue with the Zeroth Relic, and that's basically people thought that this should not decrease the Termitor. But this is one exception to the rule. Termiter manipulation immunity protects champions only from effects generated by the enemy. So effects from the relics such as Aspect of Siroth will still apply to the immune champions. We will adjust the skill description to better reflect this. So the whole idea with that relic is a very powerful one, by the way. Actually really powerful. It's a legendary relic. I can't even remember on who I actually have it equipped. So let me just quickly find it. There we go. When the wearer receives fatal damage, reduces it by 50% of their Termiter, and then fully reduces their Termiter. Now, if you have a champion at almost 100% Termiter, will basically reduce the damage by 50%, and then it will completely drop the Termiter on that champion. So it just makes sense that even on a champion like Marius, when that happens, his Termiter will drop, right? Because it's the relic doing it. So if that would not be the case, I feel like it would be a bit too powerful on those specific champions. But either way, that's basically what is happening with this relic. A very nice one. Thankfully, I have one of them. Moving on to the next thing, guys. Champion rebalance process. This is the juicy part. After each champion rebalance, we often see the same questions. So we decided to clarify some of the aspects players were curious about. How do devs choose champions to rebalance? Player feedback and in-game champions ratings, now that it has been reset, are essential factors. Players know best the strong and weak sides of the champion, so we prioritize champions that players see as lacking and make appropriate changes. Let me give you one massive suggestion, guys. Head over into the game. Head over to your freaking champions. And if they suck, go to the ratings and rate them, okay? Give them ratings so they see that these champions absolutely suck. So maybe they will get a buff, right? And I'm starting with this one. I will give one to every single mythical that's trash, in my opinion. Maybe some of you guys disagree. I'm not saying they're not good for progression. But guess what? They do not have a progression rating in-game. And if this is the main thing that they are basically looking at to see when to rebalance champions, well, it's time to give them some work to do. So if you guys think that the champions are trash, they're not helpful for your accounts, regardless where you are in the game, early game, mid game, end game, or whatever, go and rate the champions based on what you guys actually think, okay? You don't have to do exactly what I did right here. This is more like an anger, more like a punishment for Ashnar, right? Then, history of rebalances. If the champion already had a rebalance recently, they are less likely to receive another one. Yes, that's normal. That's why some of the champions will never get on the list anytime soon, especially at this rate, with them doing 2 champions per month. Older champions have a higher priority than the new ones. However, it is a case-by-case process, so you can still see newer champions in our monthly rebalances. Void Affinity also affects our decision. Void legendaries are hard to come by, so we want them to meet players' expectations and update their kits when possible. Champions from persistent fusions or similar resources have a less priority for rebalance. They are mainly meant to introduce mechanics to players or fulfill somewhat niche roles on the team, so are less likely to receive a rebalance as long as they serve the purpose. I've always told you guys, those days are long gone when you get a fusion and you're thinking, well, I'm going to do the fusion just because they might buff it in the future, you know? That's definitely not the case. Fusion champions are always going to be like at the end of the list, right? Because you're getting it now, you know exactly what you're getting. So don't go and do a fusion in the hope that maybe in 2028 they are going to buff that champion. Why do we not rebalance champions more often? Good question. Rebalance of a champion is essentially the same process as creating a new one, with the added bonus that the champion model is already in the game. While it may not look like it on the outside, it's a long process that involves work from multiple departments. And if we prioritize rebalancing more champions, it will significantly slow down our update release schedule. If it will slow down the update schedule, which means bringing in new champions, I don't care about it. Most probably the majority of you guys won't care about it because you don't necessarily need to look at the new champions. You want to use the older champions, right? Rebalances are an endless process. So when we have any wiggle room in the update, we are more likely to include QOL features than an additional champion rebalance. What do we take into account when choosing which skill to rebalance? Champion's intended role and function. Performance in that role is what we look into the most. So we boost stats and abilities that will make them better at a role. There are, of course, cases where champion's reward completely changes the skills or event roles of the champion. But they are an exception, not the rule. So there you go, guys. As I mentioned, go and review the champions in game. Review them based on your experience, okay? If you think that champion is useful for you, give it the right rating. If you think the champion really sucks, once again, give it the right rating, right? I think Ashnar sucks. The way I'm looking at all of these champions, guys, okay? I understand that some champions are good early game. I understand that some champions are good mid game. Some are good end game. Now, every time we actually had a conversation with them about rare champions, epic champions, legendaries, and mythicals, it always came out like each one of these rarity has its own role in the game throughout our progression. Rares are good early game. Epics, mid game. Legendaries, end game. Mythicals are kind of like the peak of it, right? So, if that's the way they are looking at the champions, I'm not going to look at legendary champions and mythical champions. Well, they're good in the early game where the rare champions are good, because that's not their purpose, right? So if a champion has no life in the end game, has no longevity in terms of like, I can use this champion. This champion is going to be good in X, Y, Z content in the end game, better than a lot of other options out there, especially mythicals should be better than most of the legendaries, right? Of course, not better than all of them. But when that's not the case, like Ashnar, for example, I'm just giving you an example because I just rated that champion. That champion has absolutely zero use on my account. You can argue it and say whatever you want. You can call me a filthy degenerate whale kraken and tell me that I don't know to play the game because I have so many champions and Ashnar is amazing. Well, guess what? He's just not amazing on my account, and he's not amazing on many, many other accounts because he's just not a true end-game champion. And that's a mythical, not a rare or an epic, okay? So I just wanted to make that clear. Clan versus clan tournaments. This time around, it will feature personal rewards, guys. Then, let's dive back into a couple of different things that I actually want to show you. So if we are going to go over to the news, and we're going to go over to a smoother game awaits AI bug fixes. If a champion has the provoke debuff in their skill set, they will specifically target the head of decay. Hallelujah to that. Very curious to see if that's actually the case. That's something that I actually haven't checked if it happens. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys did it already. But let's go in here with a champion that actually has provoke. Single target provoke, right? So let's just bring in some random champions in here that don't really matter much. And I'm going to bring in a provoker. Who is a good provoker? Single target provoker. Let's see, do I have anyone right here? When you need them, you can't see them. When you don't need them, they are everywhere. Single target provoker. Do I even have anyone here that provokes single target? By the looks of it, none of them in here. So let's just go by rank, and I'm quickly gonna find one to make sure that that thing actually works. Because as I mentioned, I haven't tried it yet. Who the heck provokes on the A1? Does he provoke on the A1? Yes, he does. Okay. Let's put him in here and see if this is actually true or not. We have the head of decay right here. So I'm just going to let the rest do their shenanigans. I was going to say he's probably going to use different skills though. That's fine. We're going to see it in a second. Okay, you do the cleanse. He's going to do the damage. And after, he's going to go in with the A1 skill, right? Okay. Let's see if we can kill this head right here. So that fear goes away. Okay, you do that. Okay, he does. He does. And he's actually weak affinity. Okay, so that's absolutely amazing. A lot of provoke champion provokers will be much, much better now in the Hydra clan boss on auto. Before, you were not able to basically make them go and target ahead, but now they are doing it. So that's actually really, really good news. So there we go. First thing checked. Now, moving on to the Fire Knight. If the Fire Knight shield is up, the following skills will have their priority lowered. We're talking about Newt, Royal Guard, Geomancer, Tomb Lord, Stag Knight. Seems like that is about it. So these champions were using the wrong skills. You want to use multi-hit skills on the shield. They've done it in the past with Coldheart. Coldheart used to use the Heartseeker in the shield before, but after the changes, she started using the A1, and it seems like they've done more changes like this, which is definitely really, really good because it will help you without actually creating the presets. Then, even with the presets, actually, because sometimes they're still wonky. Demon Lord changes. Dark the Pierce Lunatic Outburst skill is not on cooldown. It will become the highest priority. I'm not even sure which one is that. Is that a A2 skill? Rowan's Bladeser skill, if that's on cooldown, and the Scar skill is not on cooldown, that will become the highest priority skill. So basically a few changes for the Demon Lord, but those are pretty irrelevant, to be honest. Like, who the heck uses these champions in the clan boss anyway? Rowan, right? Epic champion. Not saying that nobody's using her, but come on. I don't feel like it's that important. Agret the Nether Spider. If Grazur's Iron God's Healing Bombardment skill is not on cooldown and the Let None Pass is on cooldown, Healing Bombardment will become the highest priority skill. I mean, if the other one is on cooldown, of course, this will be the next priority because he cannot use the other one, right? So it is a bit strange. Maybe he was not using it at all. I haven't really used him in that dungeon ever, you know? And if Grazur's Iron's got Let None Pass skill is not on cooldown, it will become the highest priority skill. I mean, yeah, if it's not on cooldown and the other one is on cooldown, of course, he's gonna have to use that one. But I guess if both of them are not on cooldown, this will be the main priority. In the dungeons, if Armiger's Lay to Rest skill is not on cooldown, it will become the highest priority skill. Sometimes, especially on the Spider, and maybe actually on every single dungeon, he's always trying to basically decrease the thermeter with the A1. So he's never really going to use the A2 as long as the boss has over 50% thermeter. Armiger is always going to go with the A1. So they changed that, which is good. If Sun Wukong's Staff of Wonder skill is not on cooldown and Now You See Us is on cooldown, Staff of Wonder will become the highest priority. In Classic Arena, Live Arena, Tag Team Arena, and Siege, Seal of the Drakes will become the highest priority on the skill. For who? For Seal of the Drakes? Okay. How many people are using her in these areas, though? I mean, I know early game a lot of people will because she's actually pretty awesome, but I guess was a priority for them as well, you know? If there is at least one ally on your team under a ship debuff, Valkanen will prioritize using his skill Dead Bargain against that target. So that's actually good, Valkanen. I don't have the champion. I know his AI is wonky, especially targeting champions to kill. A lot of the times he's killing your support champion and you cannot revive after. Then all locations. If an enemy is under an unkillable buff, your champions will prioritize using skills that can steal or remove buffs. Okay. If an enemy is under an unkillable buff, your champions will prioritize using skills that ignore unkillable buffs. So they definitely made the AI smarter with these things. Because in Faction Wars, for example, is really annoying when you go versus a Maneater, he puts unkillable, and instead of prioritizing the skill that removes buffs, the champion is prioritizing the one that steals thermeter or something like that. If there are no HP burns debuffs on the enemy team, Sisia Flametongue's Firestorm Rite will become the highest priority skill. If there are no HP burns debuffs on the enemy team, Artax Purify will become the highest priority skill. Good, because he's usually doing it the other way around. Okay, so Combust will become the lowest priority if there are no poisons. If Exemplar's Pincer attack skill is not on cooldown, it will become the highest priority skill. I'm gonna say it, but a lot of these are just irrelevant. They're just not priorities, you know? Like, I would rather see 5 more champion rebalances than having this thing done, because some of them are just irrelevant. Some of them are good, but some are irrelevant. If Abyss Mass Impalement skill is on cooldown and Divine Rat is not on cooldown, Divine Rat will become the highest priority. And Defiled Sinner, again, a champion that nobody uses that trash, bro. Like, who's using that champion? It's completely useless, you know? But either way, guys, we have some of those changes. That's how they're doing their champion rebalance. Once again, I am strongly encouraging you to go and review the in-game champions. It's a lot of work to do, so just take it one at a time. You have plenty of time to do it, but just make sure you are doing it, especially on the champions that are bad and you think they need a buff. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. Much love, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.